This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We're going to continue in Mishnah Berurah, Daf HaShavua, Siman, Lamed Beis. We're in Seif, Lamed Vav. Let me get up the... Okay, good. So we have this on the screen. How do we go down? How do we get this? Like this. Okay. So we're up to Siman Lamed Beis, Seif Lamed Vav, the end of Seif Lamed Vav. So we're Mishnah Berurah Kuf Samach Gimel. Mishnah Berurah Kuf Samach Gimel is going on the top of the page, where the Mechaber said that all the Parshios need to be Parshios Pesuchos, except for Vahaya Im Shamaya, which the Mechaber said should be Susuma. So then the Mechaber said, V'lchei noagu sheparshas kadosh li v'haya kiviyacho parsha shema maschilim b'rosh hashita u'v'soif kadosh li u'v'soif v'haya kiviyacha manichim chalak k'dei lichtov tes oisios. And then at the end of Shema, we don't leave it blank. And if you do, it's less than 9 letters. And v'hayim shemaya starts in middle of the line. So the Mishnah Berurah says in Tes oisios. You leave it blank at the end of Kadesh, at the end of Hoya Kviyacha, to write 9 letters. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kasva Achroinim, the L'chatchila tzach l'niach k'dei gimel tevois asher. L'chatchila, you should leave over enough room that you could write 3 words asher, which means, well, if you're going to write 3 words asher, there's going to be a space in between the 3 ashers. So let's see in the diagram on number 8. Diagram number 8 over here. So you're going to leave enough space to write 3 times Asher, Aleph Shin Reish, but there's going to be a space in between. So there's Al Kain Sofnich Gamid Ravach Malay, Beis Oisios Ketanois Mulvad Tes Oisios. So you can write Asher with enough room to write a small letter, the Hainu Yod. Asher, a small space with enough space to write a small letter with the Yod. The Ha, Bein Teva Lateva Tzach Laniach Mole Ois Ketana. Because between 2 words you have to leave a little space. Over the Eved Yesh Lahakel Kishemaniach Rak Kemole Tes Oisios Ketanois. The diavad will be enough if you leave over space to write 9 small letters. Dahainu Yudin, ukemashmois haShulchan Aruch kan, like the Shulchan Aruch is mashma. In other words, if you read the Shulchan Aruch is simply mashma, that all you need to do is leave over room for 9 letters. He doesn't say 9 letters plus, which is 3 words, so it's really 11 letters. It seems like 9 letters alone. Over the Eved, okay, so with the Eved, you could follow the Mashmaz of Shulchan Aruch, the Kasav Prima Gadim, the Mesharin, Harevach, Shalates Oisios, Kifi Oisai Haksav. We evaluate the space of 9 letters depending on that particular Sefer Torah. That's very interesting. Based on that Sefer Torah, the Sefer that has wider letters, he'll have to leave over 9 wider spaces. The Sefer that has narrow letters, he only has to leave over 9 narrow spaces. The Chol Hashir Hazeh Hu Bein Lepsucha Oilustuma. This shear of that ksav of the Sefer Torah is both whether it's required to be a parsha psucha and therefore start in the beginning of the column, so you have 9 spaces on the bottom of the previous column, or a parsha susuma where you're starting in the middle of the line and you need to have spaces in the beginning of the line. Okay, let us continue here. What we're going to do is we're going to merge, yes, Tuesdays and Wednesdays learning together. I'm not going to break it up into 2 files. We're going to continue. Let's continue in the Mechaber. The Mechaber says on the second line on we'll call it Daf Nun Beis, V'menichin. Okay, at the end of V'haya, at the end of Kadesh, and the end of V'haya Kviyacha, you leave 9 letters of space. At the end of Shema, we don't leave any space. So the Seif Shema in Manichin Chalak. In Manichin, if you do leave over Hupachas Mechadei Lichtov Tes Oisios, you leave over less than to write 9 letters. Uparshas V'haya Im Shemaya, the Parsha V'haya Im Shemaya Maschilam Be'emtza Shita Yoina. You start in the middle of the top line. Umeiniach Lefanei Chalak. You leave before it empty. Kidei Lichtov Tes Oisios, in order to write 9 letters. V'nimtza, and it comes out Sheshloisha Parshios Heim Psuchos Bein Laharambam Bein Laharash. That it comes out that the first 3 Parshios are Pesuchos, both according to the Rambam and the Rosh. Parsha Achroina, Ki Sesuma Ledas HaRambam, and the 4th Parsha is a Parsha Sesuma according to the Rambam. Now, what does this mean? That the 4th Parsha is a Parsha Sesuma according to the Rambam. I guess we're following the opinion of the Rambam that the final Parsha is a Parsha Sesuma. So let's see what this means. The 4th Parsha, look in diagram 3, picture 3, that according Shema is Psucha because it starts in the beginning of the column, but V'hayim Shemaya is Sesuma because the previous column ends at the end of a line, and V'hayim Shemaya begins in the middle of a line. That's a Sesuma according to the Rambam. What does it mean according to the Rosh? It should be Psucha. By the way, just to backtrack, the Ramah said earlier, "V'yesh machshirim b'chulan psuchais, u'v'medino seilu noigim av parshas v'ayim shemaya b'roish hashita k'shar parshas." Our minog, the Ramah said, is not to have a parsha sesuma in the last column, but to have a parsha psucha. But that's not the shita of the Mechaber. The Mechaber holds the final parsha is a parsha sesuma. The Ramah, I'm just reminding you, said the final parsha is a parsha pesucha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the after das harashi psucha. Even according to the Rosh, it's a psucha. We do it like this. What does it mean we do it like this? We make it sesuma. By tefillin, it's impossible to make it sesuma that you'll be yotze according to everyone. Why? Ki sesuma she'anu noegim la'asos b'sefer Torah. The sesuma that we do in a sefer Torah, the hainu shemasayim ha'parsha shulchaneh be'emtza shita, that we finish the parsha before in the middle of a line, umavsik k'dei tes oisios. V'acher kach mazchel ha'parsha she'achreya gam kein ba'oisa shita v'hi nikrei sesuma liba de kuliyama. Why? The sesuma milfaneh umilachreya. Says Mishnah Berurah, this is not the technical definition of sesuma. The Rosh holds the final parsha should be psucha. But we can't make by tefillin a sesuma that everyone agrees is a sesuma. What is a sesuma that everyone agrees is sesuma? That you make that the previous parsha ends in the middle of the line, and the new parsha begins on that very line, and you have 9 letters of space. That is, look, in diagram 4, that is the sesuma of the Sefer Torah. It's very important to know this. You look at this, most people would say this is a pei. This is not a pei. This is a samach in a Sefer Torah. This is a samach, but it's open. No, samach doesn't mean like Parshas Vayechi, where there's no space at all. Samach means that the previous parsha ended on that line. You have 9 letters of space, and then the new parsha begins on that very line. That's a full-fledged sesuma. But you can't do that on tefillin, because each parsha of tefillin has to be in a different column. Every parsha has to be in a different amud. Therefore, so you'll say, well, V'chein im yirtza laniach shita achas cholach betchilas parshas v'hayim shamaya, u'laschila b'roish shita shnia. So he said, well, maybe we'll do a better susuma. Namely what? We will leave a whole line of space and start it on the next column. Only the Rush would call that susuma. Meaning the Rush would hold, let's take a look in this picture, in picture 5, leaving the top line, ending off Shema at the end of a line, leaving a whole line of space, and beginning V'hayim Shemaya on the second line of the next column. That's a susuma according to the Rush, but it's not a susuma according to the Rambam. The Rambam, the Rambam holds that's a psucha. So you can't get a susuma l'kulei alma. There's no way to fulfill everyone's definition of susuma. B'kivan she'yav shalasois susuma l'divrei hakol noagu karambam. The minhag is like the Rambam. L'fisha kain ikar. That's the ikar. After Sefer Torah, even by Sefer Torah, the ikar is the Rambam's definition of susuma. Namely, the previous column ends at the end of a line, and the new column begins in the middle of a line. Because that's the ikar, even by Sefer Torah, if you can't make a susuma according to everyone, which is ending the parsha in the middle of the line and starting the new parsha on that very line, that's the ideal susuma. But when you're not able to do the ideal susuma, then the next best is the Rambam Shita, namely to end off the Rambam susumas, to end off the previous amud on the end of a line and start the new amud in the middle of the line. Okay, now again, the Rama earlier said that the minhag is to do it psucha, meaning what the Mechaber mandates, namely to start v'hayim shemai in the middle of a line. That's a psucha according to the Rush. The Rush holds that's a psucha. But what are you going to do? The Rambam holds it's a susuma, and this is the only way to get a decent shita of susuma. The better shita of susuma is shita Rambam. The Rush holds susuma is leave a whole line blank, but the Rambam doesn't agree to that. And since the Rambam is the ikar, the Shulchan Aruch mandates that you should follow the Rambam. Ubetaz himtzi eitza la'asoisa susuma sheyatza aliba de kuleyama. The Taz came up with a plan that you could be yotzei susuma according to everyone. The Hainu Sheba Parsha. What parsha is this? What's Aleph Vav Beis?
Rishona v'shneya.
Really? Aleph Beis. Okay, thank you. In the first or second parsha, meaning I guess Kadesh and V'haya Kviyacha, Yasa Hakol K'may Shekatzu B'Shulchan Aruch, which is you make it a full-fledged psucha. Rak Sheba Parsha Shema B'Soifa Yaniach Revach Pachos Mechadei Tesoisius. There you should leave it less than 9 spaces. Ketanis. V'chein Yaniach Revach Pachos Mitesoisius Ketanis B'Tchilas Parshas V'hayim Shemaya. The Al Yedei Zeh She'en La Tesoisius Makam Echad Kulei Kiyem Al Yedei Tziruf He Nikris Susuma L'Kulei Alma. I mean, what is the Mechaber saying to them? Mechaber saying end of Shema at the end of a line. Begin V'hayim Shema in the middle of the next line. And according to the Rambam, that's the Summa. The problem is, according to the Rush, that's a psucha. It's still a psucha if you have nine letters of space. But the Taz came up with a plan that even the Rush would say it's the Summa. Namely, you end off Shema, let's say, with 3 letters of space. You start V'hayim Shemaya with 3 letters of space. And that would be Susuma according to everyone. B'chein kasav b'tshuvas haramami pano. U'bir hagra b'chein mashvir gadam shegam hu noag lasos kain. Interesting. That sounds not like the Rama, who said the minhag is to do a parsha pesucha for Shema. V'hayim Shemaya. V'da, you should know The b'diavad afilum shiur revach ketes oisios gedolos mikol sad. Gam ken kosher. It's still kosher. What would that look like? Let's see if we have that. That would look like over here. That would look like diagram 7. Yeah, that over here, let's say you leave 9 spaces here and 9 spaces there. The Rambam holds as long as you start in the middle of a line, that's a sustuma, even if the previous line ended in the middle. Gam came kosher. The laharambam he sustuma, ulaharash he pesucha, v'kasavnu le'el. We wrote earlier, b'sivkatan kuf non ches, and sivkatan kuf non ches, that b'shem ha'achroinim, the scheme of the Halachik hayesh machshirin hanal, they could follow this yesh machshirin. V'yesh mehagdolim shanagu lasis kein lechatchila, v'nara upashte, everyone should follow their particular minhag. The minhagim branch out into many different subcategories. Let's take a look at Mishnah Berurah Kuf Nun Ches for a moment. It's going on the yesh machshirin b'chulan pesuchais. In other words, what's the Mishnah Berurah saying over here? He's saying the Rambam holds if you have 9 letters on both the bottom column and the top column, it's the summa. And according to the Rosh, it's the psucha, but we wrote that we paskin like the yesh machshirin, that's what the Mishnah Berurah wrote in Kuf Nun Ches, that b'di'eved, even if they're all psuchais, they're kosher. So it's not a bad idea to have 9 letters of space on the bottom, 9 letters of space on the top. According to the Rambam, it's Sesuma. According to the Rosh, it's Psucha. But b'di'eved, a Shema being a part of a Hayim Shemaya, being a Psucha, is good b'di'eved. Why? What's the logic of that? That even though in the Torah of Hayim Shemaya is a Parsha Sesuma, that's because in the Torah it's not samach at all to the Parsha of Shema. So it's not considered changing from what it says in the Torah in that which the space is now pasuach and not sasum, because even in the Torah there are many, many psuchos in between. And that's how we hold b'di'eved. Again, I'm still not clear whether we found the Ramah, whether the Ramah said l'chatchila we do it a parsha psucha, but at least b'di'eved parsha psucha is kosher, and he says ayin b'biur halacha. Maybe we'll see that tomorrow. We'll see. Let's hold it over here. Thank you, everybody. Again, 1 second. Let me just.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.